Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Well, check out Deal to Heal Teas. With our inspirational teas, you're sure to find something that will inspire you. Just go to dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. That's Deal to Heal Teas. Get some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tea and be inspired all day. That's Deal to Heal Teas at dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. Hi guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you'll enjoy the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I'm your host, Ernest James. And on my podcast, my guest and I discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with their problems, heal from the pain, and to fulfill their purpose. So check out our podcast. We're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, or even on Audible. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel at Deal to Heal with E. James Podcast. Until then, see you soon. Hey, welcome to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. I am your host, Ernest James, and our belief is that we believe that the relationship between a father and a daughter is one of the most important relationships in a woman's life. Therefore, our mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by spreading the voices of girl dads to the world and to give our love and support to our dads and our daughters. Thank you guys once again for listening. If you haven't already, listen, like, subscribe, and share. Follow us on all of our social media pages at the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. Also, I'm going to tell you guys how you can win $100 from the podcast, but you got to stay until the end of the podcast in order to get that information. Make sure you guys are subscribed to our podcast on YouTube. We actually share a podcast channel, a YouTube channel, should I say, with our partner podcast, the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. So when you go to YouTube, look up the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, and under that, in that podcast channel, you will see the playlist for the Girl Dad Discussions podcast as well. So today, just like any other day, we are blessed with the guest, Mr. Will. How you doing today, sir?
Oh man, it is a pleasant pleasure, a privilege, like my uncle Les Brown would say, to be here with you, brother. Glad to be here, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As soon as you said that, I thought of Les. As soon as you start saying that.
That's my uncle. That's my uncle, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, Will, do me a favor, just to get us started. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do.
Man, do we have enough time? Just kidding. What's going on, everybody? This is your favorite brother from another mother, as I like to say it, Will Baptise. I currently reside in Canada, the Quebec province. Born in Haiti, grew up in Miami, Florida, where I went to high school and college. At some point, life was lifing me. So it was getting hot in the kitchen, so I had to get out before I got burned. So that was a pivotal moment in my life, and I had to leave my environment because I realized one thing, that I could not heal from the same place where I got wounded. So I had to leave my environment completely, everything that I know behind me, my family, everything, and move to a whole new different country. Not just a new different country, but I decided to come to a province that speak a whole nother language, which is French. It's been 18 years, and I never looked back since. And I've been I've been on the journey. I've been on this journey, and I will always forever be in that journey because this is a process. It's so I'm here. I've got 20 years experience in the fitness industry. I've won a couple of bodybuilding shows. Then after that, I got I owned a gym for a number of years, and I was a firefighter also a first responder. But to some chronic illness, I had to retire early, and then I got into the financial industry because one thing that I've learned is we use money every day, so I might as well learn about it. And voila, 4 years ago, I came to my crossroad where I was contemplating of taking my own life, and I knew there was something uh, higher than me, bigger than me, and I was searching for something, but I didn't know what it was I was searching for, and voila, and I found it, and that's how Will to Rise came to play. Pun intended, it's part of my name, which I realize now how powerful my name is and how meaningful it is. So I've been on this journey, become a mental health coach, certified mental health coach, and I decided to really focus on man's emotion, because as a man, I've been a man for 43 years, and one thing that I have learned about myself and men that I have encountered is there's one thing in common, is that our emotions is are being ignored or not validated, and our emotions are suppressed. And I have a name for that. I call it emotional constipation. So I decided that I was going to tackle this head on and really create a space for men so they can be vulnerable, so they can express their emotions. And once they learn how to express their emotions, then they have to learn how to master their emotions. Because as the Bible says, whatever you don't master, become your master. So learning how to master our emotions, learning how to control, have a self-control and managing our emotions, which is very important. And last but not least, as someone that's been married twice, and I know I don't look a day older than 20, but as they say, black no crack. I'm 43 years old, and I have been married twice, and I had to learn the co-parenting reliance, how to put the bitterness to the side, your ego to the side, and really showing up for your kids, because the kids already went through the trauma from that separation. You don't want to allow them or put them in an environment where they're gonna relieve some new trauma. So I decided that I was going to show up as an adult, as a responsible man, and do the right thing for my children. So here I am today, man. I'm just serving men, high functioning men. I specialize in men's emotional and vulnerability, just to make sure that, hey, it's okay, man. It's okay to cry. It's okay to have your emotions. It's okay to be vulnerable, but you just got to choose who and where and how you're going to be vulnerable and show your emotions. Because I believe in our emotions, someone needs to earn the right for them to see us emotional to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I know it's a long introduction, but that's just half of it. It's just
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
But yeah, but
I'm listening, and I'm like, yeah, we got to have you on the Deal to Heal podcast. You know what I'm saying?
I
With
thought
all of
about that
that.
too. I thought about that earlier too when we were talking about the other podcast. I'm like, oh, maybe I'm on the wrong podcast. Then again, I'm
Oh
like, no,
no,
I'm
you're on the right one. You're on the right one. But we have two, and we just deal with two different subjects. So we are on. Definitely going to get you on the girl that, not the girl that, on the Deal to Heal podcast. To my listeners, also make sure you guys check out the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Also, but we're definitely gonna get you on there. But today for this podcast, we're on the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. So one of the things I want to ask you first of all is, what does it mean to you to be a girl dad?
man, it's a beautiful thing, because what I've learned is now I'm able to display my love and my affection towards another woman. They say that a man's first lover is his mom, right? Well, a girl's first lover is his dad, and I wanted to display that, and I think I've done a pretty good job so far, being that role model. Never see me when I was married to her mother. Never see me yell at her mother. Yeah, I got a little bit of temper from time to time, but I'll make sure that I do apologize in front of her, because if I can yell and scream in front of her, and I think it's important that I apologize so she knows how a man's supposed to treat a woman. To be quite honest with you, and I told my daughter that I say when I found out I was gonna have a daughter as my first child, I was kind of like, man, come on, man, can I just got a man? You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you ever been if that happened to you, if your first born was a girl, but I'm like, come on, man, I gotta have a boy. You know what I'm saying? Throw some football and wrestle with it. But little did I know, man, how happy I am that she is my firstborn and the kind of relationship that we have, man, like no other. Being a girl's dad, man, it's there's so much good. I mean, she's a straight shooter, no chaser. She's 12 years old, but she tell me like she feels it. And I had to learn to accept that she's becoming that kind of young lady and to give her space and to listen and to validate her emotions and to let her know that I'm here to listen and I'm not here just to fix her or fix her problem or just being an authoritative, but being that role model and also understand how she should be treated from another man. The way that I treat her will change the trajectory or will set her on the path to know exactly how she should be treated by another man. I remember that too long ago, about good 3 years ago. She lives about a good 2 hours from where I live. And that day, for whatever reason, I woke up. I'm like, you know what? It's Valentine's. I said, I'm going to drop. I drove about 2 hours, brought her chocolate and flowers and a nice painting. And she broke down crying. She said, you drove 2 hours? Yeah. I'm like, yeah. Because I just want to show you how much I love you and how you should be treated as a young lady. So I wanted to display it and I want to show her that. So that way, here's the reason why I'm doing this. Because whenever a young knucklehead come around, I mean, of course, hey, you can't blame me for that. That she'll know that she heard her dad say, I love you. She heard her dad, she's seen her dad showing her affection. And so that way, when a guy comes around, she's not just gonna be like, oh, head over heels. Oh man, I've never heard, nobody ever told me that they love me. Hey, nobody ever told me that, they care about me, or nobody ever really take time to really listen to me. I want to set the standard for her to make sure that whenever a guy comes around, the thing that he's going to say, he's going to have to work above and beyond what I've done to make sure that, okay, I can give him a chance because now he's a guy that understands how to treat a woman. He's a guy that understands how to treat a lady and how to talk to a lady. So I'm trying to set that ball high so that way she knows what to expect or what not to take from a man.
Right. I'm definitely I want to talk about the co-parent a little bit. We're a little bit later, but you mentioned it about being an example to your daughter, even in not arguing and fussing and things like that, with her mom. I myself have also been married twice. And yes, my first child was my daughter, right? And so my only biological child that I have is my daughter. I have stepsons, but that was also important to me with not only setting that example with her pertaining to her mom and how I related to her mom and treated her mom, but also how I treated her stepmom, because I wanted to show that there's no respecter of persons when it comes to being respected by a man. It don't matter whether it's your father or should I say your mother, or stepmom or whoever the man is that comes into your life should be able to respect you the same way. So I didn't treat her mom any different than I treated her stepmom. So I respected both of them and made sure the same as you that I talk to them with respect, so I definitely wanted to touch on that and about being that example as you said. And again, like I said, my first child was my daughter. I don't think I had a preference really. I guess probably in the back of my mind, I wanted to be like, have a boy first or whatever. But when my daughter showed up, and I always say, and I believe this is true probably for most girl dads is that our daughters are like the best version of ourselves, right? So at least with me, I can speak for myself. Like my daughter, her personality and everything, she's like me 2.0, right? She's like
Mm.
the best version of me without, most of my most of my downfalls, right? And so I think that's a blessing. I think if we had sons, our sons probably would be just like us, good and bad. But I
Hmm.
think our daughters, number one, we see them different and we pour into them differently. And so they become the best version of us without some of the things, the toxic things that we may have passed on if it was a boy, you know what I mean?
Right,
So
exactly.
that's just my opinion. So let's go back a little bit. How did you even find out that you were going to be a father?
Oh, it's funny. Oh my God. I can't believe I'm about to say this on a podcast. Um, I know I was gonna be a father because I was the one that was having you know how the when the ladies are pregnant and they start having some type of cravings and stuff like that. Well, that
Yeah.
was me, bro.
Yep.
I get 30 pounds. And I knew she was pregnant. From the moment she came home, I'm like, "You're pregnant." She said, "How do you know?" I said, "Man, I've been getting morning sickness, and I've been getting all." I mean, she was a complete opposite, and I knew that I was going to be so connected to this child. So when I find out I was gonna, I mean, this, we had got married. We didn't live together prior to getting married. And we got married, and then we have our first child. Actually, I helped raise her daughter because when I met her, she had a daughter that was 4 years old. So I was already playing that role because her father was absent. So I was already playing that role. So I think that kind of helped me also to navigate through the life of being a father to a girl because I was already that at that age. And till this day, I mean, it's been almost 8 years now since we got divorced. Till this day, I still got a great relationship with her. At some point, she considered me her father. And so, yeah, when I found out I was gonna be a father, I was 30 years old when I got married. I became a father at 31 ish, and it was the happiest in my life, man. And I knew back then that my life will never be the same again. And I always say this. It may not be true for everybody, for at least for majority of people. If a child does not change a man, I'm a man, and I can't speak for a woman. But if a child does not change a man, I don't know if there's anything else that's going to change a man besides Jesus. Besides God, God can do anything. But even then, God cannot change a person unless the person is willing to change.
Mhm.
So for me, it was a really it was a life changing moment for me. And my daughter and I, man, I mean, we butt head. I ain't gonna lie. She looked so much like me that at some point she opened up my phone with her face. I ain't gonna lie. When you say something about the best version of you, yeah, she is the best version of me, and then some. So yeah, man, I'm in love with my daughter. I love her to death, and she knows it. And I think our love is so strong for each other, and sometimes we clash. But hey, it is
Yeah.
what it is,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, and I definitely can attest to what you're saying about gaining the weight. When my daughter's born, after we were me and her mom was married, and we had her, she was our first and only child from our marriage. And when she was born, her mother didn't gain any weight. She was all stomach. After she was born, her stomach went back down. Me, my daughter's 20 now, right? I'm still trying to get the baby weight off, right? I gained all of the weight. So her mom didn't gain any weight. I gained at least like 20 pounds. You know what I'm saying?
Mine
During
was
that
about
time.
30, and
And
I had something weird. I started putting ketchup on everything. Even on I was putting ketchup on muffins and donuts. I even put ketchup on my ketchup. I listen. Something happened until this day, man. I just can't get rid of ketchup. But anyway, that's my only bad quality. But other than that, I'm perfect.
yeah. Another thing I wanted to say, I want to congratulate you, right? And I don't know if congratulate is necessarily the word I want to say, or thank you, should I say? Because as I mentioned before, my daughter is my only biological child, but I have four stepsons, right? And I always praise the fathers that come on who are stepfathers, because that's a role that we didn't necessarily have to provide. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And sometimes it's a thankless job. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And sometimes there's a lot that comes with it when dealing with the parent, and then also dealing with the other parent. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? If they're in the picture, but it's a job that's definitely done out of love. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because as we know, sometimes it's hard to get fathers to show up for their own child, let alone show up for someone else's.
Mm-hmm.
So I always give thanks and congratulate other stepdads, like myself, because yeah, when you do it right and you have that relationship. My daughter's the youngest of my five, right? And so like I said, she's 20 now, and she's the youngest of my five. And so when you do it right, that relationship lasts. And like yourself, or should I don't know if you're still married, but I've been married twice. I've been divorced twice. But even out of my divorce, my relationship with my sons is still strong. You know what I'm saying? And the relationship of my daughter's stepmom and her is one of the, and I've said this all the time on the podcast, is one of the most precious relationships that I think my daughter could have ever had, outside of her mom. And sometimes, probably instead of her mom's, because they go through, but her relationship with her stepmom has always been solid. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's days her stepmom will send me a text message and be like, "Hey, daughter called me today," and I'm like, "She ain't called me," you know what I'm
Wow.
saying? So that'd be our little joke, whenever my daughter would call her, or they have, do their own thing, she'll send me a text or something like that. So I'm very appreciative, for that relationship. So like I said, I like to thank the other fathers, and definitely show respect to the other stepdads like myself, who not only took the job, but took it and did it right. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so I
Absolutely.
just want to say thank you for that.
Appreciate
Um,
it.
so, is your daughter the only child that you have? Well, your daughters, are those the only children that you have?
No, no, I have two sons. I have two sons. One is 10 and the other one is 6 from I have my daughter, my son from my previous marriage, and then I've got my son with my second marriage. He's going to be seven soon.
All right, all right.
So
So let's go back a little bit, and with both of your daughters, I would say, tell me how that experience was. First of all, your daughter, that she was already 4, right? But then your daughter, who you had the chance to see as an infant, and then just going through that experience, like to watch her grow from you know a baby up. How was that experience, even as a being a father of a brand new baby?
it was it was something, man. And I have to give my credit, a lot of credit to my to my former wife, because of the nature of my job. I would see my daughter every other weekend because she had more closer to her parents, to her aging parents, and I see how the job, it was a pretty good job, and I couldn't just get up and leave, so I had to make some sacrifice. But what really took a toll on me, or made me realize, is one day I came home on the weekend and my daughter would want nothing to do with me. She looked at me like a complete stranger, like she don't know me. And that's when I realized that if I don't get close to my daughter, um, this relationship may be fractured. It may never be the same again. And at that moment, the job was no longer my priority.
Mhm.
The money that I was making was no longer important. Now it was just the relationship with me and my daughter. So, I came back, and then 2 weeks later, I'm like, yeah, I'm here. They're like, what? Yep. Because I just didn't want, because I mean, I don't know about your family. You probably have the perfect, beautiful family. I grew up in a dysfunctional family, and the last thing I want to do is to continue this, perpetuate this generational trauma and having a dysfunctional family. And it wasn't too long ago that I finally forgive myself for no longer being married. Because you can't keep tripping over things that are in the past. You gotta find a way to forgive yourself for not knowing what you didn't know, for not having a role model and teaching you how to be a man, how to be a husband, and how to be a father, and all of that I had to learn on my own. Um, and I did the best that I could with the information that I had. So I don't look at it as a failure. I look at it as a missteps and not a mistake. And I just keep moving forward and forgive myself and say, you know what? At least I'm doing my best now to make sure that the relationship I have with her mother, it's incredible. And to me, that's all I've ever wanted. And I made a promise to my ex-wife. I say, I failed my marriage, but I will succeed in my divorce. And I made that promise years ago, and I still keep that promise because I just want to be my daughter's life, and I want to know what's going on. And even the schools, they still send me email and let me know what's going on. They think they don't think that the mother and I are divorced because I'm so present. I want to know. I want to be in I want to be at least aware of what's going on, just to make sure that my daughter. Sometimes they'll send me email and I text her and she call me, and the relationship that I have with my daughter, man, it's just such a beautiful, and it can only get stronger and stronger, and that's all I can do, man. Pray to God that He keeps us close and continue to be the father that she wants.
Yeah, yeah. So that being said, tell me something that your daughter has taught you, just a lesson that you've learned from her.
Oh my God, there are so many lessons. One of the lessons I think that's gonna stuck with me for the rest of my life is that she doesn't care about material thing. And for me, I was like, I gotta provide for her. I gotta make sure that she gets everything and this and that. I remember there's a time, and she was only about 8 years old, and I said, "What do you want?" And I'll get choked up even to today when I talk about it. And I was in the car and dropping her off, and I said, "What do you want for your birthday?" She looked at me. She said, "Daddy, the best thing I could ask for is to have you as a father." I say, "I've got my." She said, "At 8 years old," she said, "You give me the best gift, which is being my father. And if I don't get anything from you for my birthday, at least you're," and then I'm paraphrasing, "at least that I have you." At that moment, I felt like a Superman, a superhero. I feel like there's nothing in this world that could stop me.
Mhm.
There's nothing, nobody have ever seen anything to me as powerful as what my daughter said. And because it came from my daughter, it feels and it makes, it was just, at that point, nothing else matters to me. So, and I always tell her, I said, "Remember when you said that?" She said, "Oh, yeah, something like that." I'm like, this will stay stuck with me for the rest of my life. Because here you are at 8 years old, a girl would ask for this, that, and the third, and she'd say, "Listen, daddy." And just the other day, something similar, she wanted to play sports. And she looked at all those sports. She looked at basketball. No, she looked at football. She looked at hockey. And she looked at volleyball. And she chose a sport. And I kid you not, I say, "Honey, why did you choose volleyball, not hockey and not football?" She said, "Daddy, I didn't want to put the financial burden on you and mama because those sports cost a lot of money." She said, "I want to play sports, but I want to play a sport that doesn't cost a lot of money." She said, "I choose volleyball."
Wow.
At that moment, my God. So
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. You got a good one. You got a good one. So let me go back a little bit, right? So one of the things that I share about or I start with asking this question first. As a father, what do you think is one of your greatest accomplishments?
Ooh, as a father, my greatest accomplishment is just to be able, no matter what, to know there's never a time. Oh my gosh, there has been never a time that I say I'm gonna show up and I don't show up. There's not been one time. And when I say I'm going to show up, even my ex-wife sometimes, when I told her that we're gonna meet at 7 o'clock to pick up my kids, she show up at 6:45. I said, "Why you do that?" She said, "Because I know you're gonna be there." She show up at 6:45 because she knows I'll be there about 6:30. Why? In case there's an accident, in case something happened, because I don't want my kids to wait on me. So my greatest accomplishment is when I say that I'm gonna be there for my children. Come hell or high water, they can count on me. To the point where even my ex-wife can count on me. There's never been a time when I say I'm having some trouble. Let's change the date, whatever. It's never no. She's like, okay, let's go. Just like not too long ago, I said this year, what do we do? Because every year we've been switching. You know, I'll take them one year for Christmas. She'll take them for New Year's, and we'll switch. And right then and there, I'm starting to make arrangement. I'm like, hey, what's going on? How are you? Blah blah blah. What do we do this year? And her answer, choose. I don't mind. You do it. You take them whatever works for you. So it's just to show you the dynamic, the relationship that we forge, because we understand that it's not about us anymore. It's about those children. So my greatest accomplishment is for my children to know when daddy say he's going to show up, he's going to show up. He's going to be there.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. So I asked that question, then I always follow up with the other question, right? And so I talk about when my daughter was probably 7 or 8. She had a daddy daughter dance, and I had to work, and so I said, "Well, I'm gonna miss this one, and I'll catch the next one." And there never was a next one. And so, like I said, my daughter's 20 now, and there never was a next one. And so I don't think it bothers her. But it still bothers me,
Mm-hmm.
even to this day. One of the things that I want to do with this podcast is to actually start doing, and I'm going to do it, start doing a yearly daddy daughter dance for daddies and daughters of all ages, right? Just to make up for that, within myself for missing that opportunity with my daughter. So that being said, as a father, sometimes we don't always get it right, right?
Mm.
So just as a father, what is something that you probably feel like I won't say, I just say regret, because that's definitely a regret that I have, that I didn't take out that day, just take off work that day to be there. So what is a regret as a father that you may have?
Well, listen, I wouldn't say the regret is to decide to end the marriage, because I did end the marriage. Um, I say I could have lived closer to them, and which is something that I'm working on because of the nature of the work that I do and different reasons and stuff. Um, I don't know if I would say it's regrets, but there are things that I could have done better to facilitate my children, such as not living too far from them, and the long drive. But again, I look at the long drive an opportunity for us to get closer, to
Mhm.
talk. I don't believe in regrets. There are things that I could have done differently. Um, and the time that when I'm with them now, I'm very aware of they may not be here tomorrow. So make the best of this time. And I haven't always done a great job of that, because sometimes, life,
Yeah.
um, sorts of things. But that's not my children's. My children shouldn't have to, be affected by my decision, by my choices. But again, we know cause and effect. In every action, there's a reaction. I wouldn't say regrets, but there are things that I could have done different, and I'm making amends for that. And it's paying off. It's working. Working on myself, man, and that's something that's huge.
Yeah.
And I've done therapy with my daughter. Boy, I tell you what, I learned a lot about myself. And I think if there's something I would highly recommend with parents, or especially fathers and daughters, even if it's just once a month, or every once in a while, do some type of counseling or therapy with your daughter. You'll be surprised how much you learn about yourself. Not so much about her, but you'll be surprised how much you learn about yourself. So that's something I would highly recommend.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm definitely a big advocate for therapy. I talk about it all the time. I'm do plan to start, just going myself, just because I think it's something that I need to do. I have talked to my daughter about it, not necessarily going together, but definitely, she mentioned some things to me, that I'm like, all right, yeah, we should check that out. So definitely, I agree with you 100%. And I'm loving this conversation. I'm definitely gonna have to get you on the other podcast, because this man talk, you know what I mean. We gotta have that conversation, right? And so definitely gonna have you on the Deal to Heal with E James podcast. But before we get out of here, we're gonna jump into the next segment of the podcast. It's called Getting to the Core segment. So to my audience, as you guys know, I wrote a book called The Core Four, which is the four core values that every daughter should get from her father. You can get your copy at ebooksbyejames.com, at ebooksbyejames.com. Again, that's the core four values that every daughter should get from her father. And so, for those of you who don't know, the core four values that I believe that every daughter should receive from her father is guidance, affirmation, love and affection, and protection. And so, Will, I sent you a copy to let you have a chance to read through them real quick. And so I just asked two questions. The first question would, out of those four core values, which one would you say is probably most important to you to make sure that you instill in your daughter?
Love and affection is definitely a it's huge for me, because it's no surprise. And now that I'm thinking about it, and subconsciously I chose that, but I didn't have a real reason. But now I understand, because those are the things that I lacked in my childhood. Love and affection. My dad passed away when I was 3. My mother abandoned me when I was 6. So I was left, to my own, to raise myself. So definitely, for me, I mean, they're all important. But if I get to choose one, that would be love and affection, because I believe um, love is all we need, right? There's a song back in the 60s and 70s.
Mhm.
All we need is love, but we need a little bit more than that. But definitely, love is probably right there with the with the oxygen, right?
Right.
And affection, because the love and affection, especially for my daughter, is very important, because that's going to set the standard of what she should expect from a man. If the man is not able to bring at least what daddy has brought to her, then there's no need. If you're not bringing more than I can bring to my daughter, then my daughter don't need you.
Mhm.
Because eventually you're going to take the responsibility. And as long as I'm here, I'm going to provide for my daughter. If you want to take that responsibility, make sure you can go above and beyond. Now, I'm not talking about material stuff, but are you gonna be there? Are you gonna be emotionally stable? Are you gonna be emotionally available? Are you gonna be a protector and a provider? Now, when I mean provider, I don't mean financial. I'm talking about provider. Are you providing a space for her to be herself? Can you protect her heart? Can you protect her emotions, and can you respect all that? So for me, I'm setting the ball high, because if we don't set, if we don't have a target, we're gonna hit it every time, right? It's because I'm just doing the best that I can. I'm not gonna be that kind of dad that's going to dictate. Of course, she's a woman of her. She's gonna be a woman of her own. I'm letting her to be who she is now, so she knows that at the end of the day, um, she is she's a free thinker, she's a thought leader, and she can think on her own without me checking up on her. And even now, so when she talked to me, I said, "Do you want my opinion or do you want me to listen?" Because sometimes they just want to talk. They don't want you to
Mhm.
fix nothing. And for my daughter to tell me, say, "Hey, daddy, hey, yeah, this boy, I got a crush on him." In the back of my head, any father be like, "Urgh." But I'm happy she feels at ease and feel some type of way that she can actually talk to her daddy. And just the other day, she said, "Oh yeah, he started talking and he's talking nonsense. No, no more crush on him, daddy." But anyway, so this is the kind of dynamic, the kind of relationship that I have with my daughter, and it's just now, she's in high school now. It's been beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. So the last question before we get out of here. So we talked about the core four, which is the four core values. So if there could be a fifth value that you could add, what would that value be?
Oh my gosh. Um, learn the other value is learn the difference between assets and liability,
Mm,
because I believe that when you learn that, and asset and liability is not just in a financial aspect, because someone can be in your life can be a liability and not an asset. But
right.
the fifth core would be learning the difference with an asset and liability, whether it's in relationship, whether it's in business, or any aspect of life. Understand that whatever, even what you have, if this is this an asset or a liability? Is this person an asset or liability? Is this job as an asset and liability? I think if we can teach them that, and also of course everything else that's encompassed generational wealth, um, and I think that'll be something that I will teach my daughter, so that way she don't become. I don't want her to be independent, nor do I want her to be codependent. I want
Mhm.
her to be interdependent, meaning that she can do for herself what she would want somebody do for her. And if that person cannot meet that, then she could fall back on her own self and not relying on somebody to do for her what she should be doing for herself.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So, Will, man, I really enjoyed this conversation, man. I definitely gonna get you on the other podcast because we got to have a whole nother conversation. But I want you to have the last word, right? I want you to leave us with a word of advice or however you feel. Whether you want to leave a message for the daughters or a message for the fathers. Just leave us with something. Also, let us know how we can follow you and definitely how we can look into your work that you do with your Will to Rise Foundation. So I'll give you a second to kind of think about how you want to do that. To my listeners, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys are checking us out on our website, our main website, which is the dealhealfulfill.org. Again, that's dealhealfulfill.org. And also make sure that you guys go to ebooksbyejames.com to get your copy of the Core 4, which is the Core 4 values that every father should give to his daughters, as well as the other ebooks that is there. I think you guys are definitely like that. Also, make sure that you subscribe to our text line. Text the word subscribe to the number 866-326-0730 to receive text messages about new episodes, new ebooks, and event information as it comes available. Actually, Will, I definitely I heard something that you said earlier, which brings me to this. I've been blessed to be a part of a organization called the Forgiveness Mission, where we hold free virtual workshops every quarter of the year. So whenever you're listening to this, either a workshop just passed or there's one coming up where we talk about forgiveness, what it is, what it's not. And one of our topics that you mentioned earlier is forgiveness of self, which is actually one of the topic that I lead. But we talk about forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, even how forgiveness affects our body or unforgiveness affects our body and our emotions. And so, again, that's the forgiveness mission. .com. We have free virtual workshops every quarter of the year. So you can go to forgivenessmission.com to see when the next episode is, or you can just go to Eventbrite to register by just looking up Forgiveness Mission workshop. Last but not least, I told you guys that I will tell you how you can win $100 from the podcast. So you can win $100 from the podcast by entering our super subscriber contest. What does that mean? First, you must subscribe to our YouTube channel, to our Facebook page, and to our podcast on Spotify. And after you've done those three things, text the word WIN, WIN, to the number 866-326-0730 to qualify to win $100. The contest is ongoing and it's random. Plus, once you're in, you can always win. You don't never have to re-up or anything like that. So you can win $100 from the podcast by entering our super subscriber contest. So once again, Will, I want to say thank you, man, for being on. Thank you for being an awesome stepdad and as well as an awesome girl dad and father. And I appreciate you taking out your time to be here with me today. So I'll let you have the last word. The floor is yours.
Yeah, if there's something I would leave to the dads, I don't care if you don't. We ought to follow on our words because our words is our bonds, right? But when it comes to your daughter, when you say you're gonna be there, please be there because if you don't do that, what you're showing to her is every man is going to lie to me. Every man that says they're gonna be there, they're not gonna be there. So therefore, she's already gonna have a preconceived notion about man because how you present yourself will let her know. Will give her a view of how she see the man in the world. So don't hype things. Don't make things bigger than they are. If you say you're gonna be there, just be there. You know, and if you don't have it, just be honest. If you ain't got it, just tell her you don't got it. So, but whatever you do, be upfront, be honest with your daughter. I don't care if you lie to everybody else, which I'm not condoning you lying to everybody. But if there's one person you shouldn't lie to, it's your daughter because that will have a repercussion for a very long time on her. So yeah, I do appreciate you having me here. It's been a great conversation. This is a very first, one of a kind type of podcast because I've never been in a podcast where I have, that my daughter is the center of the attention, which is she's the center of my world. But I appreciate you letting me brag about my daughter because it's not about me or how great of a dad I am. I'm far from that, but it's about how great of a dad I'm becoming because of her. So, and yeah, so and you asked me where people can find me, and so I am on every platform. Will to Rise was really birthed out of pain, out of trauma, out of a lot of resentment, and so on and so forth. So Will to Rise is not just it's not a hobby. It's not just a passion. It's my calling. It's my purpose. So like I said, I am an emotional health coach for high functioning men, just to help them to embrace their emotion and their vulnerability. So if you want to follow me, I'm on TikTok, A Will to Rise. I'm on Facebook under my name, Will Baptise, and also Will to Rise. I'm on LinkedIn, Will Baptise. What else? So yeah, and meetwilltorise.com. That's my website. As a matter of fact, I just published my book on the 15th, but 2 days ago. My book is published on Amazon. It's Will to Rise, How to Persevere in the Face of Adversity. It's right now for sale on Amazon. It's a great book, and it's going to change a lot of lives. It's going to make a difference. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for me, man. So appreciate you having me, and can't wait to get back onto the other podcast, and we're gonna have some fun.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. We can't end it no better than that. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, where our mission is to spread the voices of girl dads and give our love and support to the dads and to all the daughters. So until next time, you guys be blessed.